Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. My guest today is taking famous French recipes and turning them vegan. If you don't know what vegan is, you are going to learn today, and I am fascinated by what she's able to do with food that has nothing to do with animals, but is still considered a French recipe. Please welcome to the show, Sarala Terpstra. So welcome to the show, Sarala. I am very excited to talk to you today about veganism and cooking and how France enchanted you. But first, let's start with what brought you to France.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me on La Vie Creative. Listen to your podcast pretty much every day. And I'm very inspired, yes. I love the history bits and I'm very inspired. So thank you.
Of course, blogging gives all the best history. Now yes. You can be someone to inspire everyone else who's listening. No pressure.
Yeah. Yes, it's exciting to be able to share. So I'm sorry, did you ask about France?
Yes, of course. So what first made you visit France? I read that the country enchanted you from the very beginning.
Yeah, I first visited France the summer after I graduated from high school. And I grew up in a multicultural international family. And I grew up moving between the U.S. and India my whole life. So I never really felt quite at home in either of my countries. And I think I was always looking for a neutral country. And I've always been attracted to other cultures that are not my own. So I went to France that summer, and I just fell in love immediately because, first of all, I think like for so many people, it was kind of a free space that wasn't my home country.
Yeah. A lot of people come here to hide, they say.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't know I have no French ancestors as far as I know, so I don't have any connection there. But I was really enthralled to me, it was very mysterious because on one hand, it felt so laid back and casual. Yeah. And on the other hand, there was a lot of formalities and elegance. And that contrast, I've never experienced that to the extent that I've experienced it in France. So that's one of my biggest draws with France.
It is interesting. It's very contradictory in so many ways. And it's a funny country. And I, like you said, coming from a place like multicultural with America and India, I mean, those places are so different too, but they don't really cross paths in one place.
Exactly. And yeah, I think that might be part of it too, is like India has some of that freedom of France and some of the formalities. But then there's also like the Western freedoms of the U.S. that I like about France too, especially with women's freedoms and stuff too.
Nice combination.
Yeah.
So you visited and you fell in love, and then you were kind of planning to just hop around a little bit, and then you were hanging out here for a bit.
Yeah. So my friend was from Germany, and I was visiting her. So we traveled around Europe a little bit that summer. And I had planned for my first semester of college, I was going to take German. But when I was in France, I felt like I was on the outside of something that I really wanted to be a part of. And I was like, I'm going to learn French so that I can move here someday and be a part of this. So I switched to French. And then since then, I've been learning French. I took French all through university, and I studied abroad in Lyon.
Oh, wow. That's so smart, because you're right. Speaking French is really how you can integrate here. I really wish I would have did that sooner, because I came here with nothing, and it made my life so much harder. Like, you're smart that you took it up so early.
That's impressive, though. I mean, I lived in China without speaking a word of Chinese, and it definitely makes a difference when you don't know the language.
Yeah. So places in America, we kind of get away with a lot, like everyone speaks English. Everyone speaks a little bit of English somewhere in the world.
Yes, that's true.
But in France, they're not really going to help you unless you try to speak them French.
Yes. And when you do, they're really nice. So
Yes,
they're usually
exactly.
very supportive.
Did you find it difficult to learn French?
I still do.
Yeah.
The problem is I've been learning it for over a decade, and I'm embarrassed because when I studied abroad in Lyon, I was doing really well and I was getting very fluent because I was around it. But then just not being in France, it dips. My abilities dip.
Yeah.
So
I
I
think
try
it's
to
like
keep
riding
learning,
a
though.
bike, though. You come back and it'll all come back to you.
Yeah, I hope so.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so, what was the best part of living in France during that time?
Well, and then also after I studied abroad, after I finished college couple of years ago, my husband and I was working online, so we spent a few months near Carcassonne
Oh,
in a
I love
small town.
Carcassonne. It's so
Yeah,
cute.
it's so like underrated too. I mean, it's a lot of
People don't
people.
really go there. The only reason I
No,
knew about it is because a French friend took me there because he was from there. And it's like this medieval castle in the middle
yes,
of the countryside, which of course there's a lot of those in France. But this is a giant one with the village like still inside.
it feels like you're stepping back in time. It's
It's
amazing.
medieval times.
Yes, yeah.
And so you went there or you were living outside there?
We were living about an hour, half an hour in a very small town, and we were there were some other expats, but we were the only expats who were young.
Hmm.
We were the only Americans, which a lot of the French people in that town were like, "What are you doing here?" So,
It's so weird.
but it was a great experience.
And you really got to practice your French, I'm sure.
Yes, definitely. So,
So
um,
what did you enjoy during that time?
I to me I loved just going to the supermarket. That was one of my highlights. Was I think the quality of the food in the supermarkets in France is really good. Even whether it's the market or the neighborhood grocery store or the huge supermarket, I do find that the quality of their food is striking compared to other
Hmm.
places I've been. Colorful and just looks more natural.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it looks normal. It looks like real food, not like
exactly.
genetically altered stuff we get in the States sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's
And
pretty, but it might not taste so great.
yeah, exactly. I love that about France and the abundance, at the markets and stuff. Uh,
So talk a little bit about what you've created with making French style recipes, but making them vegan. How did that come about?
well, so exactly a year ago, we were living in China and I was working there, but our life was very good there. But the pandemic happened, and so we felt a little uncomfortable with all the extreme lockdowns going on in China as
Yeah,
foreigners.
yeah.
So
First
we just,
time.
yeah, exactly. And so we were like, let's just go home for a month or two. So we left most of our stuff there. And we had our baby daughter with us too. And we're like, we'll go home and stay with relatives and then come back to China. But then that never happened because the US went into
Ah,
lockdown. So, like so many people, we got stuck in limbo. Um, and we were staying with relatives. So I needed something to distract myself. And I knew that anything French related always cheers me up. Uh, and so I also more recently had become plant based. So I decided to challenge myself to a vegan French cooking project. So I got a bunch of French cookbooks from the library and started veganizing one or two recipes every day.
this is so fascinating to me because I have some close friends that actually live across the street from me and they are vegan. And I have another friend in London who's vegan. And I always like when they started hanging out, I was like, what do I feed you?
Yeah, that's what everyone asks.
My husband just keeps giving them apples. He's like, would you like an apple? And
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like, "Yes,
usually like,
like,
I
let's
have
make a meal."
salad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, let's talk first. Some people might not know what vegan is. So, can you explain that?
Well, vegan is you don't eat any animal products or use, wear, consume. So I tend to refer to myself as plant-based just because using the title vegan is a pretty heavy, serious title to like commit to.
Hmm.
But all my recipes are 100% vegan. So
Wow. Like,
no
so
animal
example, like
products.
vegans can't even eat like honey or eggs
No,
or
no. And they like with a lot of alcohol, like actually so many things have animal products in them once you start.
alcohol has
Yeah.
animal products in it.
Yes. I guess most alcohols have are
What
filtered and
animal are they putting in my alcohol?
I thought I read it was something like they use some bone or something to filter
Ugh.
it. I don't know for sure, but I
That's
guess it's very
fascinating.
common.
Wow,
Yes.
interesting. So you're trying to create these vegan meals, but French style. And let's talk about France, guys. I mean, most French meals, it's like meat and potatoes, a lot of meat going on.
Yes.
So can you
Yeah.
talk about some of the substitutes you've been using?
Well, for me, the focus, like when I was living in France and studied there and everything, the thing that really stood out to me was just the way they approach food and not necessarily the ingredients itself.
Hmm.
A lot of fresh herbs, a lot of garlic and wines and vinegars. You can apply a lot of that to vegan cooking.
Yeah.
So, I started using, like, I use a lot of thyme and parsley now, and I learned to cook with wine, uh, and now instead of using chicken, for example, I'll use beans or, mushrooms are one of my favorite substitutes for like ham or beef because
Hmm.
they have a chewy, meaty texture. And they just really complement French flavors like wine and herbs and garlic.
So wine is vegan friendly.
Well, I try to find wines that aren't, but that's why I said I refer to myself as plant-based because I
Yeah.
don't always check with my wines if they are. Uh,
Hmm.
but hardcore, very strict vegans do tend to research that.
And have
Yeah.
you found any French people that have really gotten into veganism? Like, as I know, like a lot of British people are into it, Americans are into it, but French people, I don't feel like the movement's really arrived here.
Well, that's actually one thing I was very surprised about and why I started doing what I'm doing because when I started, I was like, there's not a lot of resources out there. I mean, there are so many English blogs and cookbooks dedicated to French cooking.
Yeah.
Um, and in the French world, like there are a lot of French websites that are all about vegan cooking. And there's actually on Instagram, I've found so many French bloggers who are vegans, actually.
Mhm.
Yeah, and all their recipes are in French. But I couldn't find one English resource dedicated to French cooking, and I was like, that's not fair. French cooking is so good, and it
Yeah,
deserves a space in the vegan world. So that was
definitely. I
my
was thinking
motivation.
the same thing. Like, there's definitely a lot of vegetarians, but the vegan French style recipes, it's much more difficult to find in English and French, definitely. But
Yes, definitely.
and
Yeah.
have you made some new connections from people reaching out, being like, "Oh my goodness, finally someone doing vegan
I That's why I love Instagram. I was originally doing a blog and I might still do that, but I share my recipes mostly on Instagram because I love the community around it. And
Mhm.
I love talking with other people and meeting other people who love vegan French food. So
Yeah.
I've met a lot of like-minded people on Instagram, and nothing is better than when you get someone who tried your recipe and tells you that they like it. So,
And what's some of your favorite French style vegan recipes you've created?
ooh, it's kind of random, but one of my favorites, and my toddler loves it too. I made a croque monsieur with instead of the ham in the middle, I used sweet potato
Oh,
slices because
yum.
it's kind of yeah, and it's like sweet and kind of if you bake it a certain way, it's kind of chewy like meat, but you can bake it with smoked paprika and maple syrup, some other spices to give it kind of a smoked ham flavor. And then I made this quote unquote cheese out of walnuts. So I put that together, and it's actually really good.
Wait, how do you make cheese out of walnuts?
It's so you should try it. It's very easy. You can make all kinds of cheeses. I would say most vegan cheeses are made from nuts, but if you grind the cheeses up, they get like when they're in a pureed form. You don't want to go as far as making them into like a nut butter, but when you just soak them and then grind them and add some like milk or water in and some seasonings, they actually can kind of get a cheesy taste and texture.
That's fascinating because I always talk about my husband without this. Like, I could easily become a vegetarian, no big deal. But it would be so hard for me to give up cheese. Like, I really
Yeah, a
enjoy
lot of
cheese.
people say that. And I follow some accounts. I can't remember the name, but there's actually like faux marjories instead of fromageries now. And there's a lot of them in France, so they're doing full on like tons of different kinds of imitate vegan cheeses. And as you know, France has so many different kinds, but they're actually imitating them in different
That's
ways.
so interesting. I was really surprised to learn that the baguette is vegan. I
Hmm.
always assumed that it's bread, so it's got eggs or, something
Yeah.
in it. But my friend who's vegan from across the street, she's always bringing baguette, and I'm like, you can eat that? Like,
I know, it's so nice. It makes me so happy that baguettes are vegan.
yeah. What are some other things that are vegan in France that you might not think are?
Hmm.
The baguette really threw me. I guess a lot of wine, like you can find vegan wines, obviously.
Yes. And I do think, like with the wine, like I said, I think that's why there are a lot of people who are referring to themselves as plant-based over vegan because, you know, plant-based is it implies that the focus is on eating plants and it's not on the well, I don't want to. It's not on the activism as much.
Mhm.
But and so
So
I
vegan
do
is
think
more about protecting the animals.
yes, and plant-based people care about that too, definitely. But it's with veganism, you could be vegan and your focus might not be on eating healthy food at all. It's
Mhm.
just the absence of animal products, where
Mhm.
plant-based implies that you're trying to eat plants, like it
Yeah.
sounds.
Yeah,
So.
that makes sense. And how has your like mind and body changed since going vegan? Like how long have you been plant-based vegan?
Well, I had for a few years, but actually, my mom is from India, and in Indian culture, most people are vegetarian. So I did grow up. We weren't vegetarians. We ate meat and dairy, but I grew up on a predominantly vegetarian diet. So it wasn't a
Mm.
huge shift for me like it might be for some others.
Yeah.
I've already been cooking vegetarian, and especially for me, the concept of vegetables being a main course is not anything new. I did grow
Yeah.
up with that. But I did have a lot of sinus issues and allergies. And then after I went full on plant based and cut out animal products, I haven't had those and some aches. And my husband had some aches and pains too. And he's feeling better. Our skin feels healthier. We feel like we have better energy. So that's
Mhm.
why we've stuck with it and we love it.
Yeah, no, it seems like it could only be a good thing. And what would you say to like the naysayers who are like, you need protein and you can't get protein and blah blah blah? Like, what do you say to those people?
There's a lot. Yeah, that's. I think we don't have any really close friends or family who are plant based, so we do hear that a lot. But I think it's just that's just a common stereotype. There are actually a lot of protein sources, and so many things, like even fruits and vegetables, have a little protein.
Mhm.
But rice has it, quinoa has it, oats have protein, nuts, lentils, beans, um, nut butters. There's lots of different ways to get protein.
Yeah, you can always find it somewhere in nature.
Hmm.
And where do you find most of your like French vegan inspiration? Like, where are you looking to get these recipes going? Like, do you look at a French recipe and say, okay, how can I transform that?
Yes, I do that actually. I do that, and I there's this cooking show. Have you watched Carnet de Julie?
No, never.
It's a French cooking show. It's definitely not vegan at all, but she goes all over France to like these tiny little towns, big cities, wherever, and she makes. There's several different regional foods that she makes, so I get a lot of inspiration from watching that show. I follow a lot of French accounts on Instagram, and I just there's so many resources now, books, TV shows, even movies. Sometimes I'll see something that they're eating in a French movie and I'll quick Google it and write it
Oh,
down.
that's
So
so fun. It's like a challenge.
it is. It's very exciting.
And has there been any French recipes you've made that you're like, okay, this is not going to work for vegan?
Yes, I cannot figure out souffles, vegan souffles. It's like, oh, and macarons. It was one of the worst weeks. Have you seen Julie and Julia? the movie?
No, I haven't.
Well, there's this part where her boyfriend and her almost break up because it's so stressful on their relationship. But I had that with macarons. Like I, for a whole week, tried to make macarons, and like the oven, things were burning, and my husband and I were like stressed out because you have to time it and flip it, like turn it every 5 minutes, and you can't beat it too much or not enough. And I finally gave up on those. So
And in the normal recipe for those, is there like a lot of eggs or something?
yeah, it's a meringue base, so it's whipped eggs, which there are, I mean, eventually I could learn it because I've seen other vegans who have made very beautiful macarons. I just haven't mastered it yet, so.
So what's the egg substitute for the macaron?
Oh, you'll probably be interested by this, but it's called aquafaba. Have you heard of aquafaba?
Oh, what is that?
It's literally the liquid in a chickpea can. The liquid.
Oh.
So that is called aquafaba, and vegans don't throw that away because we use that as a meringue. If you whip it for about 10 minutes with some like lemon juice or cream of tartar, it will actually turn into a foam that's very similar to egg whites.
This is fascinating.
It's a whole new world.
So much science. I feel like you're like a scientist with your beans. I mean, I switched to soy milk like a couple years ago because I was having all kinds of stomach issues.
Yeah.
And I even from that, like you were saying, like I noticed my allergies went away.
Yeah.
I noticed like I stopped being bloated. And so it's funny because you try these things, you're like, oh, and I remember my friends who all were drinking soy milk for quite some time. I was like, oh, that's so gross. It's like water. And now when I have normal milk, I'm like, bleh.
Exactly. I read recently that your taste buds regrow every 2 weeks or something. So like you can technically learn to like anything if you give it 2 weeks.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah. I remember I was in Thailand for like a month, and there's not like a lot of chocolate there, and I'm like a chocoholic.
Me too.
And I was going through like withdrawal at first, the first week, but then after a month, I'm like, I don't need it anymore. So just give it a couple weeks, guys. You can cut things up, try new things. Do you have advice for people who want to try cooking vegan, or how should they start?
There are so many resources. There's so many blogs, and I think if you're not vegan and not plant-based, you don't tend to know just how big the world is. There's massive accounts on Instagram with like millions of followers that solely feature vegan bloggers and vegan recipes. And I would start by just using Google. And there's you can just Google basic vegan pantry items. And once you get your basics down, you can cook all kinds of things. I would recommend having fun with it and just also not trying to imitate 100% a animal product, but be inspired by it.
Yeah, I love that. You don't want it to be exactly the same because like there was all that outrage. I think it was Burger King or something when they started doing the no meat burgers, and they're like, "Oh, what is that? It's not exactly the same." And I don't think we try to make things exactly the same, but we should be open to change.
Exactly. It can, because a lot of us, the reason that a lot of people still want to imitate the animal products is because we grew up on it, and so it's kind of comforting to us, and it's what we love. So I think the main thing is to be open to a new flavor, but to apply the flavors of your childhood to that. Be open to what it could create instead.
Get creative, guys. Are there any restaurants in France that you recommend for vegans?
I don't know any because I wasn't vegan last time I was in France.
Yeah, you're like, I wasn't trying.
Yeah, but I did hear that a vegan French restaurant just got the first Michelin star of any vegan restaurant. Yeah, and I think it's in the South. Not sure.
Would make sense, I feel like. I feel like they'd be more open to that in the South. We were talking about this with another guest, how France is always 10 years behind everything else. So in 10 years, everything will be vegan.
Yeah.
Because they really weren't into the cheeseburger, and now they cheeseburgers everywhere. They love their cheeseburgers.
That's interesting.
And they make really good cheeseburgers.
They
but
do.
Opposite of vegan.
Yeah.
And can you talk about some of the creativity that goes into your recipes? Like, are you constantly having to think of new innovative ways, or do you kind of check back to what other vegan cooks are doing, or do you try to like make up your own new ways of using chickpeas or whatever?
I like to do a little mix of both, where you take some established things that are already established in the vegan world as good vegan principles to cook, like
Hmm.
using aquafaba. But then I do about 50% of just this is my idea and I'm going to try this. And the
Yeah.
great thing about vegan French cooking is if you do traditional French cooking, there are a lot of rules and terminology and traditions that you it's almost intimidating, like, oh, I have to do it this way because that's how this French chef did it 100 years ago. But a lot of that doesn't apply to vegan cooking because you're not
Hmm.
using animal products. So it does feel a lot more freeing.
Yeah, that's interesting. And would you say it takes longer to make the recipes because you're doing more steps, or is it about the same time?
I don't know if, I mean, I assume that non-vegan food bloggers probably take a lot of time also,
Mhm.
but recipe development, I was surprised by that. It takes a long time. It can take anywhere from days to weeks to just get one recipe down.
Yeah.
Uh, and especially with photographing it and then, fine tuning the recipe and then posting it, that actually is very time consuming.
Yeah, yeah, it's like you can't just cook anymore. You have to be a marketer and an
Mm-mm.
influencer too.
Exactly. And I also, my mom never really used cookbooks, not very much growing up. And that's how I was taught to cook, is just intuitively. So it's funny because I write recipes, but I don't love writing recipes. I wish I could just cook and not stop every 2 minutes to write things down.
Yeah, yeah. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, I'm the total opposite because I never cooked until I came to France. Like my family laughs at me because
Oh,
I cook all
really?
the time now. But I feel like just like you, like I was inspired, to
Mm-hmm.
do something. And like I love cooking now, but I follow those recipes. There's no way
Yeah.
I'm making up my own recipe. I wouldn't even know what.
Oh, recipes are great though, especially it exposes you to something you wouldn't have tried otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah, and I always was like so terrible at making food before, but I think I was always so rushed and I wasn't
Yes.
reading the directions correctly. And that's been a silver lining of the pandemic for me is I have time to slow down and like do things right. Like cooking.
That's exactly it for me too. That's another reason why I started this project was I love cooking, but after becoming a mom and then working full time, I just hadn't had much time to cook anymore. So
Yeah.
once we went into lockdown, I was like, this is an opportunity.
Yeah, we have time.
Yeah,
It's very meditative cooking,
it is. That's true.
whether you're touching animals or not.
Hmm.
And do you have advice for people who are searching for their creative talents or something inspiring to do?
I think so. I think our creativity is just our inner child. When I
Mm.
look at my daughter, she's 2. She doesn't question herself at all. She like just starts banging on piano keys or just starts mixing flour because it interests her. Anything that
Hmm.
interests her, she doesn't hesitate. She just goes for it instantly, and she thinks she's really good at it too. So she has no she has no self-doubt. She's so confident, but I think that all of us have that inner child. Like we are born that way with that creativity and that urge to just instantly act on anything that
Mhm.
interests us. And I think that
Yeah.
we need to, if you're looking for what makes you inspired or what you could be creative at, I think it's about just anything that interests you, try it out and see if you connect with it and it's something that you could do.
Yeah, take away the self-doubt.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing because as adults we're like slowly hammered away at and
Yes.
like told we shouldn't have done this, we did this wrong, and then it just takes away that freedom a little bit to try new things.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of your guests have talked about how they weren't raised in a family that fostered that, and I wasn't either. My parents wanted me to be a doctor or an engineer.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, of course. So uh, it can be, especially if you weren't raised that way, it can be scary and intimidating. You're
Yeah.
like, who do I
And
think I
then
am? You have to
exactly,
just
why do
dive
I
in.
think I can do any of
Yeah.
this? So would you say social media has helped you kind of jump those barriers too then?
Yes, definitely. I actually wasn't going to share at all at first. I thought, oh, well, I'm going to start something that's dedicated to vegan French cooking since there isn't a great English resource for that. And then after the pandemic, we'll move to France and then I'll start a blog from there because I thought I
Hmm.
had to be in France to be legitimate.
Yeah.
Uh, but then I was like really proud of what I was making, and I just felt this need to share it. And I was like,
Yeah.
maybe somebody could benefit from these, even if I'm not super legitimate yet. So then I started sharing on Instagram, and I'm very happy I did because I found a wonderful community of Francophiles and fellow foodies, fellow vegans, or people who are interested in veganism.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. And it's surprising how many people have started projects or sell things that are French themed or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and they like live in Chicago, like,
Yeah.
so it's okay, like, because I think
Yes.
that people get excited about French culture around the world, and you're just sharing that from wherever you are.
That's very true. I didn't realize before I started it on Instagram how many other people, how big the Francophile world was, and that it was okay to not be in France and still do something French related.
Yeah, that's that self-doubt creeping
Yes.
up again. So easy to get wrapped up in that. And is there any projects that you want people to know about that are upcoming or you want to share?
Yeah. Well, this is something that might be encouraging to your listeners, but like I said, just getting started and just taking a chance. I actually, through a photographer I met on Instagram, we connected. He asked me to write an article and take some pictures for his magazine. So that was a paid opportunity. So that was very exciting. So that will
That's
be,
great.
yeah, that's why you just take a chance and just start getting to meet people in your realm. And I'm also working on a ebook right now.
Wonderful.
Eventually I'd like to get into the published cookbook world, but for now I'm writing an ebook it's going to be about just the principles, like a lot of the questions you asked, just what are the
Mhm.
fundamentals of veganism and French food and how do you apply that? And with
Yeah,
some classic French recipes.
you could call it veganism for dummies.
That might already exist.
Yeah, I think so. But I love what you're doing with the French twist. I think it's brilliant and
Yeah.
so smart. And my British friends would be proud of me for using the word brilliant right now.
I like
Because
it.
yeah, because it is. I was thinking about this the other day. Like no one is really doing it in English, and there are people
Yeah,
that want to learn French cooking and all kinds of different cooking with a vegan twist. Why not?
exactly. I do think veganism is growing, and especially like plant-based is a newer movement that kind of came out of veganism. But
Mhm.
I do meet more and more people who it appeals to.
Yeah, and with the way the planet's going, maybe we're all gonna have to start eating uh the sauce from soybeans.
Yeah, it was funny because I think during the first few weeks of lockdown, when everyone panic shopped, it was like
Yeah,
only the vegan sections that weren't out of stock.
like nobody wants to eat that
Yeah,
crap.
so I think, were forced to buy soy milk and tofu, and
Yeah, poor things.
yeah,
I love I'm not gonna hate on it. But yeah, I think it's so important that I mean, because like I said, my neighbors have tried some vegan
hmm,
recipes and like you said, just Google and there's so many things. And it was
yeah,
kind of fun and kind of almost surprising for me to learn how easy it is and how many things don't have any animal stuff in them,
yeah,
like
yeah.
it was a little surprising to know all the alternatives and how easy it can be.
Yeah, it can, as long as because a lot of French food does have beautiful vegetables in it, and like I said, beautiful herbs. So if you just take away the meat aspect, you don't have to get rid of all the other stuff. You can
Mhm.
still hold on to that. So that's really what I try to do is whenever I create a recipe, it's about creating a feeling to me of
Mhm.
it's not exactly, beef bourguignon, but does it kind of give you a feeling of it? Of like sitting in a bistro on a snowy night in France and having a warm, comforting dish with
Yeah,
similar flavors. So that's what guides me too.
I love warm carbs. That's
Yeah.
like everything for me. And remember, guys, baguette is vegan. You're already vegan.
Yes, that's
And
true.
where can listeners connect with you online?
The best place right now is on Instagram, and I'm just on Instagram at Sarala Terpstra.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I will add that in the show notes so people can find you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for chatting with me today. I hope everybody will try one of your vegan French recipes just because why not try it,
Yes.
guys?
It's
We will
really
start
good.
simple. Yeah, try it and prove it, And we'll definitely be in contact. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Crystal. It's nice to talk with you.
Thanks so much for tuning in to La Vie Creative. You can find more information on MissParisPhoto.com. And if you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word for all my creative guests. We have the power to help them to keep doing what they love. See you next time.